Thoth, the enigmatic god of wisdom, writing, and the moon, remains one of the most captivating deities in ancient Egyptian mythology. Revered by Egyptians for centuries, his influence stretched beyond mere myth, becoming a central figure in religion, science, and magic. But who was Thoth, and what made him so powerful? Why does he continue to be so mysterious, even today? Unlike many gods whose stories are defined by chaos or heroism, Thoth stood apart as the embodiment of intellect, balance, and divine order. He wasn't just a god of scribes or scholars. He was the cosmic force that maintained harmony between the gods and the world. Known for his association with the moon, Thoth was believed to have a profound role in the creation of the universe. He was the one who helped guide the sun's journey across the sky and the keeper of the secrets of the heavens. His wisdom wasn't just limited to ancient knowledge or the written word. It spanned into cosmic balance and divine judgment. Thoth's teachings shaped much of Egyptian life, from religious practices to governance, and his influence stretched beyond the ancient world. His story holds a power that reaches far beyond the sands of time. Thoth, one of the most important gods in ancient Egyptian mythology, held a central place in both the religious and cultural life of the Egyptians. Known as the god of wisdom, writing, and the moon, his influence was profound and far-reaching. His origins are rooted in ancient creation myths, with many variations in the way he was believed to have come into being. In some stories, Thoth was said to be self-created, emerging from the lips of Ra, the sun god, while in others, he was born from the union of Ra and Ma'at, the goddess of truth and order. Regardless of his precise origins, Thoth was always viewed as a being of great intellect, the embodiment of knowledge and divine wisdom. Thoth's role in Egyptian culture went far beyond being a mere deity of wisdom. He was also the god of writing, and his association with the written word made him an essential figure in Egyptian society. Ancient Egyptians saw writing as a divine gift, something that transcended human invention. Thoth was credited with inventing hieroglyphs, the system of writing that would become the backbone of Egyptian civilization. As the god of scribes, he was often depicted as a patron of scholars and intellectuals, and his wisdom was sought after by both pharaohs and priests. In fact, many of Egypt's most sacred texts, including the Book of the Dead, were believed to have been recorded under Thoth's guidance, ensuring that the written word preserved knowledge for future generations. In Egyptian art and literature, Thoth was often depicted with the head of an ibis, a bird associated with the moon and wisdom. The ibis's long curved beak symbolized the god's ability to articulate and transmit knowledge. Sometimes Thoth was shown as a baboon, another animal linked to the moon, and revered for its connection to divine communication and the mysteries of the cosmos. These animals were more than just symbolic. They represented the god's powers and influence in both the spiritual and intellectual realms. In addition to these depictions, Thoth was also portrayed as a man with the head of an ibis holding a scribe's reed or a scroll, which emphasized his association with writing and the preservation of knowledge. Thoth's significance in Egyptian society was not just limited to his role as the god of wisdom and writing. He was also associated with the moon, which in ancient Egyptian cosmology played a vital role in regulating the passage of time. The moon's phases were believed to be controlled by Thoth, and he was thought to maintain the balance between day and night, light and darkness. The moon's connection to Thoth was also seen in his role as the divine mediator. He was believed to be the one who recorded the judgments of the gods and kept track of the divine laws that governed the cosmos. In this sense, Thoth was both a wise counselor and a judge, ensuring that cosmic order was upheld. Thoth's depictions in Egyptian art and literature also emphasized his ability to bridge the divine and mortal realms. As the god of writing, he was the scribe of the gods, recording their actions and decisions. In the weighing of the heart scene from the Book of the Dead, Thoth is depicted as the one who records the results of the judgment, where the heart of the deceased is weighed against the feather of Ma'at to determine their fate in the afterlife. This moment underscores Thoth's role as a divine intermediary, ensuring that truth and justice prevailed in both the living and the afterlife. Through his various depictions and stories, Thoth's place in Egyptian culture was made clear. He was not only a god of wisdom, but a deity who maintained the balance of the universe, from the movements of the stars to the written records that preserved Egyptian knowledge. His significance in art and literature reinforced his status as a key figure in Egyptian religion, someone whose influence was felt in every corner of her life, from the scribes who recorded history to the pharaohs who relied on his wisdom to rule justly. Thoth was not only revered as the god of wisdom, but he embodied the very essence of intellectual pursuits. As the divine personification of intellect, he was believed to possess unparalleled knowledge, not just about the earthly world, but the celestial and mystical realms as well. In Egyptian mythology, Thoth was often seen as the divine counselor to the gods, offering advice and insight in the most complex of matters. His wisdom wasn't simply about intellect in the traditional sense. It was a broader, all-encompassing understanding that connected the physical world with the cosmic order. Thoth's wisdom was linked with Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance, as he maintained the harmony of the universe through his profound understanding. He was the keeper of divine law and order, and it was through him that the gods could ensure the proper functioning of both the world and the heavens. In many stories, Thoth's wisdom proved invaluable, whether it was settling disputes among gods or assisting humanity by offering knowledge and guidance. His ability to understand the deeper mysteries of existence made him a trusted figure in both Egyptian religious practices and their intellectual pursuits. Thoth's association with wisdom was inseparable from his role in the development of writing in ancient Egypt. As the god who bestowed the gift of writing upon humanity, Thoth was credited with the invention of hieroglyphs, a system of writing that would become one of the most iconic aspects of ancient Egyptian culture. Writing in ancient Egypt was considered a sacred skill, a divine gift that not only preserved the knowledge of the time but also facilitated communication with the gods. Thoth was depicted as the divine scribe, recording the decrees of the gods and ensuring that the laws of the universe were written and preserved for posterity. In this sense, he wasn't merely a passive observer. Thoth was an active participant in the creation and transmission of knowledge. The scribes of Egypt, who played such a crucial role in the administration and religious practices of the time, looked to Thoth as their patron deity. They believed that their ability to write was a reflection of Thoth's divine influence. In many ways, Thoth's creation of writing was a cornerstone of Egyptian civilization. Hieroglyphs were not only used for monumental inscriptions and religious texts, but were also essential in daily life, from keeping records to documenting the accomplishments of the pharaohs. Through writing, Thoth helped ensure the stability and continuity of Egyptian culture and knowledge across generations. His role in the creation of writing was so central that in Egyptian art, Thoth was frequently shown with a reed pen in hand, ready to record the wisdom of the gods or the actions of humanity. Along with his association with wisdom and writing, Thoth's connection to the moon was another defining attribute that set him apart from many other gods in the Egyptian pantheon. In Egyptian mythology, the moon was not just a celestial body, but a powerful force that had a direct influence on the rhythms of life. Thoth was intimately connected to the lunar cycle, and it was believed that the phases of the moon were controlled by him. This celestial role underscored his importance as a god who maintained the order of both the earthly and divine realms. Thoth was often depicted as a lunar deity whose presence was felt in the ebb and flow of time. The Egyptians saw the moon as a regulator of time, guiding the passage of days and months, and Thoth's ability to control it reinforced his role as a keeper of cosmic order. The moon's changing phases were symbolic of Thoth's influence over transformations and renewal, both on Earth and in the afterlife. In some texts, Thoth was even believed to be the one who created the calendar, ensuring that time was measured correctly and that the rituals and ceremonies of Egypt could be carried out with precision. Thoth's lunar connection was also reflected in his association with the god Khonsu, another deity linked to the moon. Thoth and Khonsu were often seen as complementary forces, with Thoth representing the full moon and Khonsu since the new moon. This duality highlighted Thoth's multifaceted nature. While he was a god of wisdom and knowledge, he was also a god of cycles, change, and renewal. The moon's phases were symbolic of Thoth's power to both create and destroy, to bring light into darkness and restore balance. Thoth's role as the moon god was crucial in Egyptian rituals related to the afterlife. He was believed to guide the deceased through the trials of the underworld, using his wisdom and the moon's light to illuminate the path. His connection to the moon also emphasized his role in maintaining balance between opposing forces: life and death, light and dark, chaos and order. Through his control over the moon, Thoth was seen as the divine force that ensured the continuity of life and the universe itself. Thoth's attributes, wisdom, writing, and the moon, were intricately intertwined, each one amplifying his importance in the Egyptian worldview. His wisdom allowed him to create and preserve knowledge. His writing ensured that this knowledge was transmitted through generations, and his lunar connection symbolized his power over time, transformation, and cosmic balance. Together, these aspects of Thoth's nature made him an essential god in Egyptian mythology, one whose influence shaped not only the spiritual but also the intellectual and temporal aspects of Egyptian life. Through his attributes, Thoth was able to maintain the delicate balance between the gods, humanity, and the universe, ensuring that wisdom and order prevailed throughout the ages. In Egyptian mythology, Thoth's role extended far beyond that of a mere deity of wisdom and the moon. He was integral to the creation myths that formed the foundation of Egyptian religious beliefs. One of the most significant creation stories involving Thoth is his participation in the creation of the world itself. According to certain Egyptian texts, Thoth was not only a creation god, but also a divine mediator, one who played an essential role in bringing order to the cosmos. As a member of the Heliopolitan creation myth, Thoth was involved in the unfolding of the universe from the primeval waters of chaos. It was believed that when the world emerged from the void, Thoth helped shape the balance between the gods and the forces of chaos. In some versions of the myth, he was credited with being the one who restored order to the cosmos after the sun god Ra had created the first divine beings. Ra, in his wisdom, entrusted Thoth with the task of maintaining divine order, ensuring that the world would remain in harmony and that the god's will would prevail over the forces of disorder. Thoth's role as a mediator between the gods was paramount in many myths, particularly in resolving conflicts and maintaining peace among the divine beings. One of the most famous stories of Thoth's diplomatic interventions is his involvement in the dispute between the gods Horus and Set. As a god of wisdom and intellect, Thoth was called upon to mediate between Horus, the god of kingship, and Set, the god of chaos, after they engaged in a bitter struggle for the throne of Egypt. In the myth, Thoth helped to resolve the conflict by using his wisdom and judgment to arbitrate a fair solution. Thoth's actions in this myth were crucial, not only because he facilitated the restoration of harmony between the gods, but also because they emphasized his role as a keeper of cosmic balance. His wisdom allowed him to see beyond the chaos of the situation and find a way to resolve the tension in a manner that upheld the fundamental principles of justice and truth. Thoth's wisdom and influence also extended to his involvement in other key events in Egyptian mythology, where he intervened to bring about divine outcomes. One of the most well-known stories is his intervention in the myth of Osiris. According to the myth, Osiris, the god of the afterlife, was killed by his brother Seth, who sought to usurp his throne. After Osiris's death, it was Thoth who helped restore Osiris to life by using his knowledge of magic and divine powers. Thoth, along with the goddess Isis, helped in the resurrection of Osiris by performing a series of rituals that would allow him to live again, albeit as the ruler of the underworld. Thoth's role in Osiris's resurrection highlights his connection to life, death, and the afterlife. His wisdom, combined with his magical abilities, allowed him to navigate the boundaries between life and death, making him a pivotal figure in one of Egypt's most important myths. Thoth's involvement in the Osiris myth also underscores his role as a mediator not only between gods, but also between the living and the dead. He was believed to possess the knowledge needed to guide the soul of the deceased through the afterlife, ensuring that they would be able to overcome the trials and challenges they would face. His association with the judgment of the dead was one of his most important functions, and it was in this role that Thoth truly became a central figure in Egyptian religious practice. In the famous scene known as the weighing of the heart, which is described in the Book of the Dead, Thoth plays a pivotal role in the judgment of the deceased. This scene, which is depicted in many tombs and coffins, shows the deceased's heart being weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. The heart represented the soul of the deceased, and its weight determined whether the person had lived a life of virtue and truth. If the heart balanced with the feather, the deceased was deemed worthy of entering the afterlife. However, if the heart was found to be heavy with sin, the deceased's soul would be devoured by the fearsome monster Amit, and they would be condemned to eternal oblivion. Thoth, as the divine scribe, recorded the results of the weighing and ensured that the judgment was fair and just. In some depictions, Thoth is shown with the head of an ibis, holding a scroll or a pen, as he meticulously writes down the outcome of the judgment. His role in the weighing of the heart illustrates his dual capacity as both a god of wisdom and a god of divine justice. He was the one who ensured that the process of judgment was carried out in accordance with the laws of Ma'at, the divine principle of truth and order. Thoth's wisdom was crucial in ensuring that the right decision was made and that the deceased's fate was determined by the balance of the actions during their lifetime. Thoth's involvement in the judgment of the dead also reflects his broader role in maintaining cosmic order. His ability to oversee the weighing of hearts and the judgment of souls demonstrated his control over both life and death, and his deep connection to the afterlife. Thoth's role in this process was not limited to mere record keeping. He was an active participant in ensuring that the balance of the universe was preserved, even in the realm of the dead. His influence extended beyond the material world, and his interventions in the afterlife reflected his omnipresence in Egyptian mythology. Through his wisdom, interventions in key events, and role in the judgment of the dead, Thoth solidified his place as one of the most important gods in the Egyptian pantheon. His ability to mediate between the gods, his role in the creation myths, and his connection to the afterlife all highlight his multifaceted nature. Thoth was not only the god of wisdom, but also a divine judge, healer, and protector, whose influence stretched across both the living world and the realm of the dead. His role in these key mythological events reinforced his position as a deity of immense power and influence, whose wisdom was sought after by both gods and mortals alike. Thoth's symbols and depictions are some of the most recognizable in Egyptian art. each reflecting his divine attributes and his profound role in the cosmos. His most common representation is that of a man with the head of an ibis, a bird known for its long, curved beak and association with wisdom and intellect. The ibis, with its sharp and precise beak, is a fitting symbol for Thoth, the god of writing, as it signifies the god's ability to articulate and record knowledge. The ibis's affinity for water, often seen probing along riverbanks in search of food, symbolizes the search for knowledge, an endless quest for understanding that Thoth epitomizes. This bird, with its association to the moon, also represents Thoth's connection to the lunar cycle, highlighting his control over the rhythms of time and his ability to restore balance between the forces of chaos and order. In addition to the ibis, Thoth is often depicted as a baboon, another animal associated with him due to its connection to the moon. Baboons were seen as sacred animals in ancient Egypt, believed to embody divine intelligence. Thoth's connection to baboons symbolizes the god's role in the celestial realm, as these animals were thought to have a special relationship with the moon and its cycles. The baboon, often shown with its arms raised toward the sky in reverence, mirrors Thoth's position as a mediator between the heavens and the earth. As a representation of the god, the baboon emphasizes Thoth's power not only over the earthly domain, but also over the cosmic order, where he maintained balance in the skies and guided the movements of the celestial bodies. In addition to these animal forms, Thoth was sometimes depicted with other symbols that further embodied his divine attributes. One of the most iconic symbols associated with Thoth is the scribe's reed pen or papyrus scroll, tools that signify his role as the god of writing and recording knowledge. The pen represents the power of the written word, which in Egyptian society was not just a practical tool, but a sacred force. Thoth, as the divine scribe, used this pen to document the actions of the gods and to keep track of divine law. In this sense, the scribe's pen symbolized Thoth's unique power to capture and preserve the wisdom of the universe in writing, ensuring that knowledge could be passed down through the generations. Thoth's connection to writing was so central to his identity that the Egyptians often saw writing itself as a divine gift, one that was given to humanity by the god to record and understand the natural and spiritual world. Another key symbol associated with Thoth is the crescent moon, which highlights his role as the lunar deity. The moon's phases were believed to be controlled by Thoth, and its changing cycle represented both the passing of time and the cyclical nature of life itself. The crescent moon, with its waning and waxing phases, was symbolic of Thoth's power to guide transformation, renewal, and the balance between light and darkness. As the god of the moon, Thoth governed the celestial rhythms that marked the passage of time, from the rising and setting of the moon to the cycles of the year. The crescent moon also links Thoth to the god Khonsu, another lunar deity with whom he shared an enduring relationship in Egyptian mythology. Together, Thoth and Khonsu were believed to maintain the balance of the lunar cycle, with Thoth often associated with the full moon and Khonsu with the new moon. The Ankh, another important Egyptian symbol, was also associated with Thoth. The Ankh, often depicted in Thoth's hand or as part of his imagery, represented life and immortality. As the god who helped guide the dead through the afterlife and weighed the hearts in the balance of Ma'at, the Ankh symbolized Thoth's role in preserving the eternal order of the universe. The connection between Thoth and the Ankh highlights his power over life and death, reinforcing his role as a mediator between the realms of the living and the deceased. This representation tied Thoth not only to wisdom and knowledge, but also to the continuity of life itself. Thoth's representations also emphasized his dual nature as a god of both the intellect and the mystical forces of the cosmos. His depictions as a man with the head of an ibis, a baboon, or holding a scribe's reed, all serve to underscore his role as a divine intermediary between the heavens and the earth. Whether in his association with writing, the moon, or the judgment of the dead, Thoth's symbols were more than just artistic representations. They were powerful emblems of his influence over the natural and supernatural realms. In Egyptian society, these symbols were not simply aesthetic. They served as a constant reminder of Thoth's omnipresence in the lives of the people, guiding them through the challenges of life and death, and ensuring the ongoing balance of the universe. Through these powerful symbols, Thoth's attributes were brought to life in a way that was deeply embedded in Egyptian culture. The ibis, the baboon, the crescent moon, the scribe's pen, and the ankh were not merely artistic choices. They were expressions of Thoth's multifaceted nature and his essential role in maintaining cosmic order. These symbols encapsulated the god's wisdom, his ability to create and preserve knowledge, and his control over the forces of the cosmos. By understanding the deeper meanings behind these representations, we gain insight into why Thoth was such a pivotal figure in Egyptian mythology, and why his influence was felt across all aspects of life, from the spiritual to the intellectual, from the living to the dead. Thoth's influence extends far beyond the borders of ancient Egypt, with his legacy resonating deeply in later cultures, particularly in Greek and Roman mythology. When the ancient Greeks encountered Egyptian religion and mythology, they often merged their own gods with those of Egypt, and Thoth was no exception. The Greeks identified Thoth with their god Hermes, who shared many similar attributes with the Egyptian deity. Hermes, like Thoth, was the god of wisdom, writing, and communication, and was also considered the guide of souls to the afterlife. This syncretism led to the creation of Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure who was believed to be a combination of Thoth and Hermes. In the Hellenistic period, Hermes Trismegistus became associated with a body of mystical and philosophical texts known as the Hermetic corpus, which covered subjects such as alchemy, astrology, and theurgy, all of which were rooted in the ancient Egyptian traditions attributed to Thoth. These texts would later influence Western esotericism, particularly in the Renaissance, where scholars and mystics looked to Thoth through Hermes Trismegistus as a source of profound spiritual wisdom. Similarly, the Romans, upon absorbing Greek and Egyptian culture, also recognized Thoth through the figure of Hermes, further solidifying the god's influence in the Mediterranean world. The Roman adoption of Egyptian deities, especially during the reign of Emperor Augustus, integrated Thoth's image into various religious practices. Temples dedicated to Thoth were constructed, and his attributes continued to be invoked in matters of knowledge, justice, and healing. Thoth's legacy has endured in the modern world, particularly in areas such as mysticism, philosophy, and even in the fields of psychology and linguistics. The concept of Thoth as the god of wisdom and intellect continues to inspire those who seek knowledge in various forms. In contemporary times, Thoth's connection to writing and the preservation of knowledge has made him a symbolic figure for intellectual pursuit, and his image is often invoked in discussions of enlightenment and higher learning. In literature and popular culture, Thoth's wisdom and role as the divine scribe continue to appear in various forms, from fictional depictions of ancient Egypt to modern-day explorations of ancient wisdom and mysticism. His legacy as a symbol of balance and intellectual power lives on, reminding us of the importance of knowledge in shaping both our past and our future. Thoth's presence is still felt today, whether through his association with the written word or his influence in spiritual and philosophical thought. From the ancient temples to modern libraries, Thoth's enduring legacy serves as a testament to the timeless importance of wisdom, knowledge, and the pursuit of truth. Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and the moon, holds a place of unparalleled significance in ancient Egyptian religion. Revered as the divine scribe and counselor to the gods, Thoth was central to the maintenance of cosmic order, serving as a mediator between gods and humans. His wisdom guided the gods through conflicts. His writings preserved the divine laws of the universe, and his influence extended even to the afterlife, where he ensured that the judgment of the dead was fair and just. As the god who invented writing, Thoth was the key figure in Egypt's intellectual and spiritual life, embodying the power of knowledge and truth. His symbols, whether the ibis, baboon, or crescent moon, captured the essence of his divine attributes and his role in sustaining the balance of the cosmos. Thoth's story, deeply rooted in ancient Egyptian culture, continues to resonate today, transcending time and place. His legacy lives on through his connection to knowledge, wisdom, and the written word, themes that remain central to human progress. From the ancient texts that preserve Egypt's religious beliefs to the philosophical works of later cultures, Thoth's influence is unmistakable. Even in modern times, his association with the moon, intellectual pursuits, and the preservation of knowledge reminds us of the timeless importance of wisdom in shaping our world. Whether in the mystical traditions of the past or the academic and spiritual realms of today, Thoth's wisdom still guides us. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and legacy of Thoth, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the ancient world. Join us as we explore the timeless gods and myths that continue to shape our understanding of the universe.